Yep, just want to be sure everybody gets connected and ready before we start. All right, we are going to call this meeting to order. This is the Morgantown City Council regular meeting. We're in the Mon County Commission Chambers, 243 High Street. It's Tuesday, November 15th, and it is a little bit after 7:30 p.m. And I ask the clerk if she would please call the roll.
Joe Bugano,
Present.
Bill Kolecki,
Here.
Lucia Vega,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Trumbull,
Here.
Dave Harshbarger,
Here.
Brian Butcher,
Here.
Mary Celine.
Here. Now we're going to stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of minutes. We have November 1st, 2022 special meeting minutes, and the same date, November 1st, regular meeting minutes. And those minutes we would approve by acclamation if everybody is in agreement, and move on to correspondence. If anyone has any corrections, direct them to the clerk, please. Correspondence. We start with the Morgantown Citizens Academy graduation. This is an exciting day. It's exciting to us, and hopefully to the people who are graduating. So we have a list. We have some items down here. Here we go. I would love to put this way. Whoops. Do you want to say just 2 or 3 things about the program?
Sure.
She wasn't asked beforehand for this. If you would just say kind of, because I have not participated in it as much as some of you in
Yeah.
organizing it. So
Sure.
if you just wanted to say just,
Okay, so this is the second class of the
Yep.
Morgantown Citizen Academy. It's been a great time getting to know the folks who have attended, and the students were made up of folks from within our city and outside our city. They applied, and so they did have a valid interest and a great sense of involvement and participation, and we're very thankful for them. Class met every Thursday evening from 6 to 9, and class started out in the public safety building, and they met with administration and myself, and then the next week after that and the corresponding weeks they met with department heads, and each department head made a presentation, shared a little bit about what they did. They had some tours of the police department, the tours of the firehouse, the Northside Fire Station, and they just got to know a little bit more about our city. Great conversations with our development services director, our finance director, all the directors that day and day work really hard, and so our class got to learn about the city and what we do, and I think they're all over here, and I think that I've heard some good stuff, that they enjoyed it, and we're looking forward to doing this again in the spring. So
Wonderful.
That's about it.
so what I appreciate from it is the willingness of people to come out and learn and sort of get that insider's view of what it's like to be part of the city. And then we would look to you all for future involvement and the ability to let us, your city council, and your staff of the city know your views and what you've learned and what you'd like to contribute. So thank you for your participation, and thank you for coming this evening. So now we will do what we were setting out to do. So, Eric Harshbarger, come on up. Yay! I know you. Congratulations. Thank you for attending. So here's your everything. You get this cool medallion that they had made that I love, that has State and Morgantown and the logo and everything. And then this cool certificate that the clerk's office can create, which we really appreciate that you'll all receive. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
If there's anything else? Yes.
Do you want to have them say one thing that they?
I would love to. That's what I was wondering. Do you all want to be on the spot? Yes. Tell us one thing that you appreciated or learned or want people to know about the city, or what your participation.
I really liked getting to tour the fire and police departments.
Oh, I don't think she's here, but you can call her.
Olivia McConnell. Okay. So we will make sure she gets this and thank her for her participation.
Back is a validation of the parking, if they park there.
Ah, apparently there's a parking validation on the back, which might be about as useful as all of these other items, but anyway, which means very useful. So Marla Unigas. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor. And here is her beautiful certificate. Swag. There you go, this.
All right.
And here's your other swag and your parking validation if you park somewhere where it's good for. But yes, cool medallion.
Thank you so much. And I love that the city is reaching out to folks to help everybody get more involved. Thank you.
All right, Sam Fagan. All right, Sam. Appreciate you very much. Here is Sam's really cool certificate, similar to all the other cool certificates, but with her name on. There you go. And cool medallion and parking validation.
Thank you. Wonderful.
You're now very prepared. And then if you would like to make any sort of commentary?
Sure.
I enjoyed finding out about the Community Arts Center.
Joyce Basile? Am I pronouncing your name correctly? Pronouncing your name correctly? No. Give me a hint. Basil. Basil. All right, I like it. Here you go. So see, she has similar certificate. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
And similar, all of the other goodies.
See, I parked on the street.
Ah, won't help you. Won't help you. Yes, sorry. So here this is, and then we would love to hear whatever you'd like to tell us. This is your chance.
I enjoyed everything, especially being able to ask questions and have them answered by the department heads. It was great. Thank you.
See how whoever here who has not participated yet would love to participate so that you can do that? All right. Idlehyde, show. So nice that you got to do this. See? Cool certificate.
It's spelled right. Excellent.
Yes. We're working on our pronunciation as well.
Thanks. I
There
wear
it
it
is.
every day.
Every day.
Every
All right. We would love to hear your thoughts.
I thoroughly enjoyed asking the most questions and being a pain in the ass to every director that we came across, because that's my job.
Good job. We need those. Kim Miller. We've seen you around.
Yeah, it's good to see you again.
It's very lovely to see you. So, look, Kim gets similar, a similar certificate and swag.
Yeah, swag is good.
And we would love, you have lots of interesting opinions about the city. I'd love to hear what you enjoyed or didn't enjoy or.
I particularly liked meeting with the finance director. I never expected I would. And I really liked the beers that the students and we all got together and had after class.
March Walker. All right, crowd favorite March. Hello.
Hi, nice to meet
Nicely
you.
done. Nice to meet you. Here's your swag.
Certificate of
I just want to
completion.
make sure that everyone gets to see that he completed. He did it. People who make fun of certificates of completion should know that they actually mean something to you. Actually did something and carried it through and appreciate it.
Yeah.
If you want to take the mic.
I just wanted to thank the city for putting this on. I thought it was a great program. As everyone also said, being able to directly ask questions of and learn who the principals were in the city government was fantastic. And my classmates are great. It was fun to make some friends as well.
All right. Jenny Smith Pierce. Oh, yes. All right. You're another crowd favorite. Good job.
Thank you.
Nice to see you. So swag.
How good is this for?
And
How
I
much
do
is
not
it?
want to damage any carpal tunnel.
You're not,
or
you're good.
anything. Okay.
Is this good for just one night?
Yeah. Don't you think you should get something like
I've gotten a
a
lot.
week or two?
Yes.
Okay. So yes. So here she has a certificate. Thank you. Appreciate you. If you'd like to make any kind of comments.
I echo everything that my classmates said, but I think the most important thing was the community that we built within the class. That was really and is inspiring to me. So thank you all so much, and I hope you continue to do this.
Stuart Williams. Uh-oh. What's this uh-oh stuff? I don't know.
There's so many of us, Mayor.
Well, I think that it's lovely that you participated. There's your swag.
Thank you.
Here's your with parking pass. There we go. There you go. Exactly. And then Stuart Williams. See?
It's
Hey,
official.
this is your moment.
It is.
All
I'm gonna
right,
take it.
there's your mic.
I'd like to thank the city. I'm relatively new to Morgantown myself. I had no idea this was only the second class, or that we've, the second and the best class. Many of the instructors and the people who presented told us we were better than the first class, and I just want to make sure you guys all knew that. Thank you.
All right, Nathan Accord. Nathan. All right. So glad that you could do this.
Thank you.
Here's your swag.
All right.
And look, your name, right there on a certificate of participation.
Well, thank you, ma'am.
Appreciate it, and if you would take the
Sure.
mic.
What a great group to have a class with. It was very interesting to meet such an eclectic cross-section of the city. And I mean that in the best possible way. And also the opportunity to get a little window into how the government operates, even in small things, such as seeing the budget that all the parks are maintained with, I thought was very eye-opening and good for the ordinary citizen to know. Thank you.
So thank you, all of you. I assume at some point you guys took a photograph of the whole class? Have you yet?
No, but we could do it right now if they want to pop up.
Yeah,
Can we take one real quick?
if you all would pop up, I think we should take one.
That'd be good.
Especially since you were the best class. Or something close to. So where would you like people?
That way you get the city work.
Yeah,
Kind of maybe?
yeah. Should we move? Come on up this way. Just make sure we deal with the post. Maybe if we can have people spread out a little bit this way and avoid the post.
Where do the shortest people go? Joyce and I can be together.
Guys, come this way because you got that silly post. Like you come all the way. There we go.
Yeah, I mean, they're already spreading. I think oh, it should be back here.
No bunny ears.
That's good.
Great. Awesome.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you guys. Coming for your jobs. We're coming for your jobs.
I'll send you all the photo.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Now we have, once we get everybody settled. All right. I would love it if Marvin Davis, GIS analyst, is here to receive GIS Day proclamation. And then right after that, we're going to do the Small Business Saturday proclamation. And Amy Loomis is to receive that. And I'm going to come forward and we're going to, if Marvin wants to come up here.
I guess I'll introduce some people that would like to come up.
good.
Taryn Moser with Morgantown Utility Board, and Mark Music, the county assessor.
Anybody else? We got them all?
I believe that's it.
All right. All right. So, City of Morgantown recognized that an understanding, use, and application of geospatial technology is crucial to operating our infrastructure, sustaining our natural resources, and stimulating economic growth, thus benefiting the welfare of the public through Monongalia County. And whereas geographic information systems, GIS, technology allows us to see and model complex relationships and patterns to respond more intelligently, and whereas there is a need to promote GIS awareness, education, and technology training, or technical training, to use this rapidly developing technology to its full potential, and whereas the City of Morgantown acknowledges those that have chosen GIS as their profession or as part of their discipline to improve the lives of our citizens, and whereas to recognize and support the efforts of nonprofits who work on activities to improve conservation, human services, and various humanitarian efforts to better our world, and whereas having a day of GIS activities open to students, citizens, and government leaders will help promote STEM education and inspire others to a higher calling to use technology for good. And whereas the City of Morgantown is committed to utilizing GIS to inform decision-making and better serve its residents and make useful geographic information open and easily available to the public as a platform for innovation. Now therefore I, Jenny Celine, Mayor of the City of Morgantown, West Virginia, on behalf of City Council, do hereby proclaim the 16th day of November 2022 as GIS Day, and encourage each individual to join in the recognition of the value and application of this technology. We're going to have a clap here. And we're going to pass this on to you and your colleagues. Thank you. Yes, photo op. And then if you have something to say about what's going to happen, we would love to hear that. All right. The mic.
I guess I'll lead it first. Oh, they're going to lead me. Okay. So this is, I believe, the third or fourth, I believe. Fourth, yeah. Can't remember. How many times we've, third. Okay. Third time we've held a recognizing GIS Day at the City of Morgantown, and every year I think we've continually built upon successes from the previous year. The coming year is going to be even more exciting as we have a lot of implementation underway A lot of geospatial products, a lot of brand new and exciting things that are going to be available to everybody are coming down the pipeline, and keep your ears open and eyes peeled. We're going to have a lot going on this year and a lot of reason to celebrate GIS Day in the future. Thank you.
So I'd love to have Amy Loomis come up. So, whereas the government of Morgantown, West Virginia celebrates our local small businesses and the contributions they make to our local economy and community. And whereas the United States Small Business Administration, there are 32.5 million small businesses in the United States. They represent 99.7% of all firms with paid employees. Small businesses are responsible for 62% of net new jobs created since 1995, and whereas 79% of consumers understand the importance of supporting the small businesses in their community on Small Business Saturday. 70% report the day makes them want to encourage others to shop small, independently owned retailers, and 66 report that the day makes them want to shop small all year long. And whereas 58% of shoppers reported they shopped online with a small business, and 54% reported they dined or ordered takeout from a small restaurant, bar, or cafe on Small Business Saturday in 2021, and I would say should do that all through the year. Whereas Morgantown, West Virginia supports our local businesses that create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our communities. And whereas advocacy groups, as well as public and private organizations across the country have endorsed Saturday after Thanksgiving as Small Business Saturday. Now, therefore, I, Jenny Celine, Mayor of the City of Morgantown, West Virginia, on behalf of City Council on this 15th day of November, do hereby proclaim the 26th day of November, 2022, as Small Business Saturday, and urge our residents, the residents of our community and communities across the country to support small businesses and merchants on Small Business Saturday and throughout the year. So I would like to present this to our representative of MAP, as well as our representative of Main Street Morgantown, and really appreciate your work and all of the people that you're representing this evening. So congratulations.
Thank you very much, Mayor Jenny.
And I'm going to hand this to you, and then I would love it if you would, because we get these proclamations from the national organizations, and really what Small Business Saturday is about is the communities and how they celebrate. So I would love to hear what Main Street Morgantown, you're relatively new to Main Street Morgantown, but throughout the years, Main Street has done a good job of promoting and determining how we're going to celebrate Small Business Saturday in the business core, and that does not negate all the other parts of the city that and the region that have small businesses as well.
Thank you, Mayor
So if
Jenny.
you would take the
Yes. Of course, this is a major award for today, and I prepared a 1-hour speech, but I have cut it down to a couple of minutes. So I hope you'll allow me to make a formal speech. So I wanted to thank Mayor Celine and the city for the opportunity to collectively celebrate and champion small and local businesses this holiday season and all year round. When I think about small businesses and our small and local business owners, I think about the themes that they model for our families and our community: survival, innovation, creativity, resourcefulness, and a get-it-done tenacity that is both inspiring and enduring. Main Street Morgantown's role is to facilitate growth and prosperity for businesses, current and prospective, within the Downtown and Wharf District. Downtown is the heart of our community, and we work every day towards a safe, welcoming, attractive, and historic district for our merchants and our community, a foundation for generations of prosperity and community pride. The work is neither simple nor easy, but it's our enthusiasm and the enthusiasm of our people, our business owners, our shoppers, our festival goers, that remind us that through hard work, there's always a reason to celebrate. Yes, shopping small keeps dollars circulating in the community, but shopping small is also personal. They need you. Small Business Saturday is the only holiday celebration for shopping small. Last year, we spent $9,000 in advertising to attract people to the district. On Saturday, November 26th, we invite the community to downtown. Come shop and dine with your favorite local businesses, have cookies and s'mores with Santa, enjoy music and food vendors in Courthouse Square, visit the Holiday Vintage Market during the day and the Moonlight Market in the evening. We'll have Shop Small giveaways for shoppers, and second best to Santa, there'll be free parking on the weeks of Christmas week and Thanksgiving week, courtesy the Downtown Merchants and the Parking Authority. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention our partner, the Morgantown Area Partnership, who joins us by championing small businesses beyond the downtown and wharf districts, and who have 38% of its members are small businesses. So I invite the public to discover the unique and the special as you seek out your small and local businesses this holiday season. Your support warms our heart.
Nice. All
Thank
right.
you very much.
Popping up and down here.
Good job, Judy.
All right. Now, last but not least, under correspondence, C-Click Fix. This is the Morgantown 311 mobile app, and we would love to hear from Holly Gregory, communications specialist and ultra helpful person who helped me with numerous things today. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Good evening, Council. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Holly Gregory. I work for the City of Morgantown in the Communications Department, and I'm very excited to be here with all of you this evening to present the City of Morgantown's brand new citizen request management app called Morgantown 311. So, through our partnership with C-Click Fix, we were able to launch this app just yesterday. The app basically streamlines the process of citizen request submission and fulfillment. So essentially, the app allows citizens to submit community-related concerns to city officials alongside really important details such as locations, photos, and much more. And as you can see, there's a wide array of different concerns that can be addressed within the app, such as, animal abuse, abandoned vehicles, streetlight outages, potholes, much more. So there are many different concerns that can be addressed within the app. And not only can you address community concerns within the app, but the app also provides really important, valuable resources to citizens who may need them, such as trash and recycling services, voting information, paid parking, and things like that. The app also provides a map view of all the different requests that have been received throughout Morgantown, kind of allowing citizens to see where requests are centered and where they've come from, where they all relate to each other. So, when a request is submitted, it essentially is pushed through to a corresponding city official. So, for instance, this was a concern about a streetlight, which was out. So, this was pushed through to the Public Works Department because they are in charge of streets. So, Barb Morgan, who is one of our officials with the Public Works Department, received this request, and she was able to, once she received the request, acknowledge it, comment on it, and close the request once the work was completed. So these updates help to keep citizens informed when it comes to the process of their concerns being addressed. It essentially helps to keep them in the loop. So, just to kind of round things out, I just wanted to let everybody know that Morgantown 311 is now available on the Google Play Store and the App Store, and the City of Morgantown and its personnel are very excited to bring this important new opportunity to the community. Thank you guys for your time so much, seriously.
Now we are on to some public hearings. The first public hearing is an ordinance amending section 12905, purchasing procedures. And we're going to open, so these are moments when you can come up and speak on one particular item. There is a item later that's the public portion, and that's on any topic. So these are on particular topics. So we're going to open this. This is on the purchasing procedures, if anyone's wanting to speak.
Good evening. My name is James Giuliani, and I live at 256 Prairie Avenue, Morgantown, West Virginia. National Landmark Alexander Wade Home. Yeah, I was looking at the new ordinance as proposed, and what it seems to do, it takes out capital improvements as through the competitive bidding process, and I'm not sure why exactly that's being done. I think that maybe we'll follow up and we'll answer some questions that maybe we'll have. But that being said, is that I looked through it, and I'm wondering if this purchase procedures, why it was brought up at this time. What precipitated the idea that we would need to change the purchasing procedure for the city of Morgantown? Was there a problem with it? I'm not sure. I don't think there was been. I've never ever heard anybody complain about the purchasing procedure. But what I did hear that there was, when this project, I guess we can call it defense in depth, which is a purchase lease agreement. One part's a purchase, to purchase equipment. Another part, which are goods, and another part is would be considered capital improvements in a leasehold, capital lease. Purchasing no assets for long-term assets, meaning there's no real estate that's going to be purchased with this. So what I'm trying to figure out here is, as I read through it, and there's cross-outs, and the cross-outs takes out the capital improvements in the $25,000. It doesn't take out the $25,000 for capital goods. Therefore, this project should be competitively bid if indeed the city indeed wants to purchase any kind of assets and goods that these are. I sent council members and the administration emails earlier today showing that there are people that competitively bid this. There was a city out in Kansas that built their building and then they had to equip it. Well, what they did, they put out their RFPs, requests for proposals, or in this case, yes, requests for proposals. They already had assumed they were qualified. I would assume if you're going to bid on a government contract, you're qualified. So they assumed that too. So what they did, they put out a competitive bidding process. Well, this is used equipment that we're looking to purchase in this defense in depth training center, gun range, shooting range. I'm not sure exactly what all it encompasses. Is it a retail store too? Because in actuality, before we could even consider a purchasing procedure for this and what the proper purchasing procedure would be, we'd have to look at it. How was this vetted? Who did their due diligence? What would make the city of Morgantown that was never on their capital budget, and they have things on their capital budgets that they do want for training centers, meaning a ladder station for the fire department. We need other things. We have true needs that the fire department, police department need, and maybe we need them together. But that being said, is that we have a situation here is that I'm questioning why we're doing anything with the purchasing agreement other than if we wanted to look at the capital improvement and we felt the threshold of $25,000 was too low for capital improvements of that, then we should look at raising the dollar amount, not eliminating it. We're eliminating it and we're pushing it to where? I'm not quite sure. I've read through this. I have a lot of experience in contracts. And what I do know is this. I would never enter into the business contract that was proposed to get into the defense in depth deal. Because first off, you don't have the ability and the legal power, I don't think, to do it in the manner that it's been done. I think that it had to be brought out to the public. I think that it had to bring out the competitive bidding. Now, we can say that competing bidding practices are vague. I think that's what was said at the council meeting, that they were vague. No. I think they were very clear. You may want to change them, but they were very clear. They've been that way for many years. What was vague is the proposal from Defense and Vet that they brought to the city of Morgantown. Now understand, my understanding is that the city of Morgantown didn't approach Defense in Depth. They're going out of business because they can't make it as a training center. If indeed a private business cannot make it as a training center, how would you expect the city of Morgantown to do it? And why would the city of Morgantown even consider entering into a 10-year lease agreement? Now, I understand as I read the lease agreement, it does have an out. It says if you don't have the funds to do this, now who makes the decision? Does the leaser make the decision whether you have the funds or not? Because this is a 10-year agreement. This is a 10-year capital agreement with a base lease of $20,000 per month. But that's just where it begins. That's just where it begins. That's what you actually know. The rest of it you don't know. You don't know the utilities? You don't know the maintenance? Revenues? What are you talking about revenues? You expect to get any revenues? And who are you going to hire? Is Human Resources going to hire these civilians? It certainly wouldn't be the police department. The police department doesn't have the capabilities, nor the ability, or the training to get into business. Is there anywhere in this agreement that talks about defense and debt, Doug Leach and Mark Nesselrode, that they're going to come in and they're going to help you all? Are they going to provide free labor for a while? Are they going to train people? They're going to train people to do what? So we started here tonight with an ordinance that says purchasing, okay? And you're going to say, how does this involve purchasing? You're talking about defense and debt. Well, totally, I'm giving you a real-life example. I'm giving you a real-life example of how this ordinance would be affected. You see, so what we need to have tremendous clarification of what, when we change this ordinance, what we're actually doing. Are we becoming less transparent? Because in my mind, we should become more transparent. More transparent. That being said, is that this thing, whenever it goes and does whatever it does, it's going to have to start over. Because whatever they brought you and whatever they informed you about, they didn't give you the information. They didn't give you the real information. They didn't give you the factual information. They didn't give you the monetary. They didn't give you anything. Nothing. Guess what? I'm going to have this, and guess what? If I'm the police department, why do I even want to have it? I'm not even sure why I want to have it. It's going to be a great, 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 great thing, a burden on the police department to handle training. Where do they have the resources? Right now, we're struggling to keep a police force that can give us life and safety within the city. That should be our goal. Our goal should bring life and safety. That means policemen, okay, on the streets. That means them doing their job. That doesn't mean that they're somewhere training anybody, because that's not their job. So the fact of the matter, I don't know what the goal of this is. I don't know why we even presented this. Maybe the manager can explain it more. He can make it seem to me that it's an acceptable thing that we need to do. But like I said, if we're looking at capital improvements and dollar amounts, tell me where through that we're protected. Because it seems that so far, the charter says that when capital improvements, we do certain things, they have to be there. You can't just decide we're going to put them on there. There has to be publications. There has to be certain things. We haven't even done those things. But the fact of the matter is, not one of you people up there, not one of you honorable council people could tell me what this proposal is. You want to know why? Because you've never seen the proposal. The finance director gave you his projected budget, the basic cost on this. He couldn't do that. What he had was a question mark and blank lines, because nothing has ever been presented to the finance director. That man is given great responsibility. That gentleman, and he is a gentleman, has been given great responsibility to do the due diligence of the city. And that's what he will do now. He will do it. And what he'll bring back to you, in my estimation, is this. And this is me speaking now, not the director. This is me speaking. I would suspect that he's going to tell you you're going to have a difficult time wanting to engage in buying assets. Assets that are goods. Goods that are depleting goods. Goods that have been in use for 6 to 7 years. Goods that have already been depreciated through their life. Understand, these business owners have depreciated this equipment. It has no value to them anymore. But we are going to pay $1.5 million, and then I'd have to look and see, what are we buying? What I sent you all tells you what you can buy. You can go out on the used market right now, and you can buy the same things.
Keep on with the purchasing procedures.
Yeah, well, that is purchasing procedures. What I'm saying to you with this project proposal that is before you, there are many companies that sell used bulletproof glass. There's people that sell all the other things. There's people that sell beverage machines. There's people that sell all the things listed in here that you propose to purchase. What I'm suggesting to you, this council, if they want to do a training center that I'm not against a training center. I am not for providing our police and our fire department the best that they can do. But guess what? I want it to be the best. I want it to be the best facility we can have. So that being said, what I would propose to this city to look at and this administration to look at is a lease agreement, a total lease agreement. Why would you purchase anything? What if you go out in 1 year, you find out that this is just way above our head, this is just something we can't do. You're tied up to $1.5 million for what? What are you going to do with your equipment? You have no use for your equipment. But guess what? Anybody that leases the building has to have the bulletproof glass. You can't rent the facility without the bulletproof glass. So why would you buy something that has to be there for you to lease it? You can't use the gun range without the bulletproof glass. You can't do it. So if I was leasing it as a smart investment for the city of Morgantown, what I would do is look at the purchasing, see what I can do with the lease agreement. See where the lease agreement is. Where does the lease agreement out? Because guess what? Now we're not purchasing goods. Now we're in a lease agreement, okay? That says that in the lease agreement, we can, during a fiscal budget, if after year one it doesn't work, we're out. We don't own any equipment. We don't have any assets. We're not obligated for another 9 years. So what we want to do, we want to go into this agreement understanding what the last clause is and how we get out of that. Because I'm going to suggest to you that I don't know anybody up here, I don't know anybody in the city of Morgantown, any of these departments, that know how to run a gun range or training facility. And the expectations that we would hire more staff, more employees.
I think we're beyond purchasing.
No, I don't think we are.
Well,
I think
I
we're
think you need
in
to wrap-
purchase.
I think you
and
just
what,
need to wrap it up.
I think we're in purchases and what's required of this council and what's required of this administration. And what I'm saying to you, I just want the council to do the things that they're supposed to do for the citizens of our community. That's who I'm looking out for, the citizens of our community. To make sure they're getting the best for their daughters, to make sure the police department and the fire department are getting the best for their dollars. I want to protect the city. I do not want the city to get into an engagement where they spend $1.5 million and possibly $4 million, and at the end of the day, they have nothing. They have nothing. Thank you so much.
Appreciate your comments. Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this topic of purchasing procedures? We'll close this public hearing, and now we're on item B, an ordinance amending section 12104, order of procedure. And we're going to open this public hearing, just on this topic only.
What's this report say?
Order of procedure.
Robert's rules?
No.
Okay,
Is there anyone wishing to speak on order of procedure? All right, we're going to close this section. Now we're on to section C, an ordinance amending section 12124, applicability of Robert's Rules of Order. We're going to open this public hearing.
Again, James Giuliani, 256 Prairie Avenue, Morgantown, West Virginia, First Ward. That being said, addressing Robert's Rules and what we have, I guess, in front of us is a ordinance to raise the exception to Robert's Rules, that we no longer use them, and we follow, I'm not quite sure what. But I've been going to council meetings for longer than anybody in this room, to these Morgantown council meetings, longer than anybody in these rooms. And guess what? Robert's Rules is important. The reason Robert's Rules is important, it sets the guidelines for you. As our manager has said to us, are they followed strictly to the rule, as would be for maybe larger constituents and bodies? But in this case, they're still the rules that guide us. What they allow is for personalities not to come into play. That's what we don't want to have. We don't want personalities come into play. I think sometimes we feel that we want to not be as formal as we need to be. Okay, that's okay. We can get comfortable with each other, but we could never get so comfortable with each other that we don't follow the rules. Okay, and there are rules that should be. Ethical and moral rules that you follow. And I went to a meeting last week, and it became a little bit troubling to me of how far this can go. What's a formal meeting? What's an informal meeting? What's a workshop? Where do Robert's Rules come into order? Where do our Robert's Rules come into play? I came to the meeting. All I was wanting was information. All I was wanting was information. Wanting to learn about the budget and participate in the workshop. Well, first I was told I couldn't participate. It was a council workshop. I respect that. That's no problem. But then I wanted to record it, and I was told that I couldn't record it. It's a public meeting. The person that told me this has been on has been around a long time. They know they started here. When they started, they were reprimanded more than once. Should they maybe have been reprimanded as hard as they were? Should have been Robert's rules to the strict to the nth to the nth? That's the way it used to be, okay? Well, guess what? It's evolved from that point now to where it's somewhat looked at as chaos. When you're watching it from afar, you have to wonder, what's happening tonight? What's happening next week? What happened last week? Who's on first, second, third? I don't know. I do know, though, this is troubling, very troubling. And for people to want to change the rules to fit themselves, this is bigger than any individual. We're talking about a community. We're talking about our citizens in here. That's what we're talking about. Everybody's right to participate, and participate in a manner that is effective, to not take that away from people. So what I'm saying is I'm for the rules. I'm for a fair playing field. I'm for a fair playing field in this. I'm for a fair playing field in the city of Morgantown with West Virginia University, the county, whoever. So what I'm saying is let's all play by the rules. If I could only get others to play by the rules, that's what I'd really like. So let's all play by the rules.
Thank you. Item D, an ordinance authorizing the conveyance of property by the city to the Morgantown Building Commission, the Building Commission, in connection with the design, acquisition, construction, furnishing, and equipping of improvements to certain recreation facilities of the city, including renovation of the Morgantown Ice Arena and construction of a new swimming pool at Marilla Park, the projects. Little I, the leasing of the property associated with the projects and any additional property that may be required in connection with the financing of the projects by the city from the Building Commission pursuant to one or more lease agreements. The sale and issuance by the Building Commission of its not to exceed 29 million principal amount of lease revenue bonds in one or more series to finance all or a portion of the costs of the projects, to fund one or more debt service reserve funds if required, and to pay the costs of issuance of the bonds and related costs. And for the execution and delivery by the city of one or more lease agreements and other documents in connection with such financing. So we're gonna open this public hearing. And then anyone who is wishing to speak on this matter and this matter only may come to the podium and speak. There's no one wishing to speak. We're going to close this portion. Item E, an ordinance amending Article 733 of the City Code regarding the city's sale and use tax. This will be a public hearing for this item and this item only. We're going to open this public hearing.
Could you explain it a little bit more? I'm not sure what you're all about.
Codifying allocations of the 1% city sales tax to 25% to different.
Very good. And is that changing or is it staying the same?
Staying the same.
Very good.
Just codifying.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to close this public hearing. Unfinished business. Consideration of approval of second reading of an ordinance amending section 12124, applicability of Robert's Rules of Order. The first reading was 12/1/2022. Is there anyone wishing to, well, actually, if the city manager had something on that?
The intent of this particular ordinance would, revision of this ordinance would be to establish the Robert's Rules of Order as a guideline, as opposed to a strict set of requirements in all public procedures related to city council.
Move to accept.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion?
Okay, I'm still against this. We asked last week for some clarification. This puts Robert's Rules of Order as less of a priority than rules that council has set for itself, which, okay. But we asked for those rules 2 weeks ago at our meeting, and the only things that we were able to get from staff in 2 weeks was 3 updates to order of procedure, 3 updates to public portion, and 1, the formation, I guess, of the committee of the whole meeting. We literally just had a question about whether the public hearings were timed. No one knows the answer to that. So I don't think we should be giving Robert's Rules of Order less of a priority than our own rules when we don't even know what those rules are.
I have some comments, but I didn't know if anybody else had any comments.
I think Councilor Quickie.
Yes.
I think we did see things from our city clerk indicating what the order of procedure was in the past, how we approached our meetings. All of our training that we received when going through the municipal league had indicated that Robert's Rules of Orders were certainly worthwhile, but not necessarily completely the only way to approach a meeting, that they offer a good point of departure, certainly should be considered. I think all of our other municipalities kind of agreed to that training. I don't see any difficulty with this. I think what we're doing is we're kind of nitpicking over something that, a procedure that we've never really formally put in place. I would, again, rather concentrate on the content of the meeting rather than the procedure of how we go about conducting a meeting.
And I have a
Yes.
question, Mayor, to our city attorney, if you wouldn't mind, just the purpose behind this ordinance. In trying to put our practice perhaps more in alignment with the actual code that we follow.
The ordinance provides that city council will conduct its meetings in accordance with the procedures set out in the city code. There are several of those within Article 121, and then provides specific authority for council to adopt procedural rules, which council has done in the past as well, governing some aspects of its meetings. And also provides that when determining questions of order, the council will use Robert's Rules as a guide.
Thank you.
From my point of view, I see this as a way of opening the conversation and making sure that we are following Robert's Rules to the extent that it's practicable and useful in our context, and that we have been receiving over the years commentary that indicated that bodies of our size did not necessarily follow Robert's Rules of Order to the letter. We've had sometimes formalities that did not make sense. This still references Robert's Rules of Order twice within it. So it says, council will conduct its meetings in accordance with the procedures established by this article, and questions of procedure are going to be decided by essentially whoever is the chair of the particular meeting, so the mayor or the person acting instead of the mayor. In deciding questions of procedure, the person making the decision will use Robert's Rules of Order as a guide, particularly in the event that the procedure is not determined by this article or by procedural rules adopted by council. In the event of any conflict, the order of precedence is shall be the provisions of this article, number 1, rules adopted by council, number 2, and Robert's Rules of Order. So I was seeing this as something that was the beginning of making sure that wherever we do have rules, that we find them, and that rules that, that council may adopt any rules that determines necessary or helpful for the conduct of his business. So it would be more transparent in that the rules, wherever they be located from the past or from current, would be congregated in one place. And it says that such rules shall be maintained by the city clerk with the official records of the city and available for public inspection. This looks to me to be a transparent way of behaving, and trying to make sure that we are maintaining our rules for public inspection, and that we pull them out of where they are would be part of being a modern council in a modern era. So I think that it's perfectly acceptable, and in fact, a move forward. But
So
I can
if this-
understand other perspectives, no problem.
A question, if this passes tonight and a member of the public goes tomorrow when it's supposed to be publicly available, are they going to be able to receive a copy of those rules? Because I myself would like one, and I haven't been able to receive one. I think we are doing this out of order. I am all for having written rules. I love a rule, Jenny.
I know you do.
I cannot see saying that our rules take precedence over Robert's Rules of Order when we have no freaking clue what those rules are.
Well, if you were to ask the clerk's office, I imagine that you would receive the same rules that you have received, and that then we can put together a committee and work toward having a more complete set of rules and using the rules that we have and building upon them. And so this would be a foundation for that, if it's something that council wishes to pass this evening, or at any time.
I have a question for the attorney, if I could.
Yeah.
Were there references within city code before about maybe like how we follow rules, or like, because I'm looking at some of the ones that we were sent, so some of them were adopted by ordinance, some of them by resolution. Was there any like method of enforcement of those rules in our city code before, or is this kind of like a new change?
I don't believe that the codified ordinances of the city previously made any specific provision for adoption of council meeting procedures.
So when we would pass these council meeting procedures, that was kind of like outside of any sort of applicability within our code before. Is that true? Or?
It was not something provided by codified ordinances. I mean, certainly city councils have the power to adopt rules for the conduct of their proceedings.
Okay.
I don't know that there was any standardized format to it.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious. Thank you. Share the same concern as Danielle does for a lot of reasons. But I think it's two things can be true at the same time. It's not at all true that we're getting rid of Robert's Rules of Order, but also that I have a lot of trepidation about not having a full comprehensive list. I think a lot of the stuff that we received was just like us changing public portion to one length and then changing it back and then changing it to another length and then changing it back. So it didn't feel comprehensive to me. I know that we've had rules that probably don't necessarily make it to an ordinance or resolution. It's just kind of more informal too. I guess I would agree that I would rather have maybe a committee first and then do this, but that's just my opinion as well.
That would be reasonable. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this topic?
So, if I may?
Yes.
So, with this ordinance, Robert's Rules of Order still continues to exist. The council rules will supersede it, or precede it, I'm sorry. But we're still waiting on, we still have to locate the rules that our council have.
I would think that we would absolutely have to have a committee and work on rules and how we want to handle them so that the rules that are already in place would be in place, and the rules that aren't yet in place, those areas would be governed by Robert's Rules of Order.
Well, that was going to be my next question. So if we don't have the rules, or at least the rules we assume, then Robert's Rules would then be the one that would be followed at that point in time.
Yes. Because it sets the order of what you look to, so you see if there's a specific rule, if there isn't a specific rule,
Then we
then
go
you
to
fall
Robert's
back to Robert's Rules.
I would like to move to table item A until such time that we have a committee that can gather our rules into one place.
A second.
Do we want to discuss that, or we're
Call
just
to
going to
order,
vote?
Mayor. There is no discussion of tabling.
All right, all right. So, Councilor Abogano, the clerk is going to now call the roll.
To table
On the
item.
tabling, on tabling.
Joe Buchanan?
Yes.
Bill Koecki?
No.
Ixia Vega?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Trumbull?
Yes.
Dave Harshbarger?
No.
Brian Butcher?
Yes.
Mayor Celine?
No. So the item is tabled, and we should be appointing a committee in here somewhere, so, thank you. So now we are on item B, consideration of approval of second reading of an ordinance authorizing the conveyance of property by the city to the Morgantown Building Commission, the Building Commission, in connection with the design, acquisition, construction, furnishing, and equipping of improvements to certain recreational facilities of the city, including renovation of the Morgantown Ice Arena and construction of a new swimming pool at the Marilla Park, the projects, and to the leasing of property associated with the projects and any additional property that may be required in connection with the financing of the projects by the city from the Building Commission pursuant to one or more lease agreements. 3, the sale and issuance by the Building Commission of its not to exceed $29 million principal amount of lease revenue bonds in one or more series to finance all or a portion of the cost of the projects, to fund one or more debt service reserve funds if required, and to pay costs of issuance of the bonds and related costs, and for the execution and delivery by the city of one or more lease agreements and other documents in connection with such financing. The first reading was 11/1/2022.
Move to approve? Oh, unless you want to.
No, we can move to approve. You've got it.
Second.
Say- Thank you. And then if the manager has anything to say on this subject?
What, you want me to go ahead and address
You're,
that?
you're up on
That's great. Usually
pools and
I'm-
ice rink.
I'm ahead of that, so.
Yeah, we're all set
This would
with
simply,
motions.
simply establish an agreement between the city and the Morgantown Building Commission to help secure the bonds necessary to, for the renovation of the ice arena as well as the Marilla Park improvements. The expenses that are estimated for the ice arena are between $10.4 and $11.5 million. And the estimation between, for the construction and renovations of the Marilla Pool facility is between $9 and $11 million. So this would help secure the funding for that, for the bond that's going to be issued to help finance those projects.
Thank you. We've had motions. Is there comments or questions? Does bond counsel wish to speak at all, or let us know what happened today? what I hope happened today.
Oh, yes. Okay, good news to report. So Tom Amon with Steptoe and Johnson, and we're the bond counsel for these particular projects. So the bonds are being issued by the Building Commission, as you know. They have completed 2 readings of their own bond authorizing ordinance and then held a public hearing and then enacted the ordinance earlier today. There was really no public comment with respect to that. They did have their own public hearing, no public comment. That was over at the Public Safety Building. So as you know, these 2 projects are going to be financed separately, but we're doing that through one ordinance, so we don't have to go through this process 2 times. The details are established by, so this sets parameters that not to exceed the $29 million, interest rate not to exceed 8%, and repayment term of not more than 30 years. The manager had provided the estimated project costs, and because the design work is farther along on the ice arena project and will be ready to go out to bid, and the construction season for that is such that it really needs to start earlier, that closing will occur first. We will come back with a supplemental resolution in January. In the interim, we will be going out to the rating agencies seeking a rating for the bonds. It's anticipated by Cruz and Associates, which Rob Steptoe from Cruz is here this evening as well. Cruz is anticipating that it's likely that a rating could be achieved that would lower the debt service on the bonds as compared to not having a rating. So that will be sought. And between now and then, we'll be putting the package of information together that goes to the rating agency and also in the offering document for the bonds. We're looking at, it's currently appearing that a public offering would be more favorable than a private placement. The rating is helpful to that. So that information for the offering document and the application to the rating agencies is being prepared, will be done in January, and then we're anticipating to come back to the Building Commission and Council in early February after we have bid results to then approve the final details that we need at that point to then go out with the offering of the bonds. The city ordinance that's in front of you primarily authorizes the leasing arrangement between the Building Commission and the city. The city pays lease rentals to the Building Commission or its lender that pays the debt service on the bonds. It also authorizes the necessary continuing disclosure policies and procedures and the agreements that would be necessary for a public offering. Typically financial statements, audited financial statements, and that sort of thing. That and also the conveyance of the properties by the city to the Building Commission so that they can then lease them back to the city. So that's primarily what's under consideration today. Be happy to try to answer any questions, or if you'd like to hear from Rob could address some of the financial aspects as well, whatever your pleasure is.
If anybody has any questions at this time, it's a good time to ask them.
Do you want to talk about the transition into the next project?
Yeah, please. We don't seem to
Rob
have questions right
Steptoe
this
with
moment.
Cruz and Associates. Tom did a really good job just sort of laying out specifically the schedule from here and the action items that we're going to be pursuing. But at the end of tonight, we'll now be in a position to start pursuing the rating with probably Moody's, because they've already done some work on a rating for the city related to another entity of the city. And so that'll be a good point at which we can start that process and also begin working toward using that rating in the market when we market the bonds. It's expected that a rating will obviously lower the interest cost, that's the objective, and in lowering the overall borrowing cost, freeing up more additional surplus sales and use tax for other projects or other needs related to Beaupark within their allocation of the sales and use tax. Once we get into January, we're going to be looking at getting a supplemental in place, I believe, and then we'll be ready to get into the market and start that process of getting indications of interest from investors, putting that together, and then having a pricing period, which is typically about a 1-hour process on a morning. We'll give plenty of advance notice on that. We'll have preliminary numbers and estimates on what the market is doing, what the interest rates are doing, and all that fun stuff. Then once we actually price the bonds, we'll bring it back to the building commission and the city and Beaupark. We'll bring the results back that day, that same day of the pricing. We'll make sure the results meet your expectations and the projections that we provided ahead of the pricing, and be sure that all of that's acceptable. Get your verbal acceptance on a pricing call, and then we would memorialize it in writing in the form of a bond purchase agreement that same day as well. It's standard process to do it that way across the world, the nation, and so it works pretty well that way. No surprises once you've gotten through that pricing period. Then it's essentially about 2 weeks to a closing. We're estimating closing to be March 2nd at this point. That'll give we'll obviously have selected the general contractor back in January, and then once funds are deposited in the project fund, then you all can execute the construction contract and move to construction anytime after March 2nd or after you sign the construction contract. Then we're going to quickly pivot into the next project, which we're all very excited about as well, being the Marilla Park Pool Aquatic Center. Not quite sure what we're officially calling it yet, but obviously very excited for that project as well. So we'll roll right into that pretty seamlessly. We'll even start preparing for that as well, likely in January and February. So if there are any questions, we're happy to address them.
Thank you. Good info.
Thank you.
We're very appreciative of your expertise, because this is not something that we do on our own. Any more questions or comments? The clerk would call the roll.
Joe Buganim,
Yes.
Bill Kowacki,
Yes.
Ixia Vega,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Trumbull,
Yes.
Dave Hartsbarger,
Yes.
Brian Butcher,
Yes.
Mayor Celine.
Yes. That passes unanimously. Consideration of approval of a second reading of an ordinance amending Article 733 of the City Code regarding the city's sale and use tax. The first reading was 11/1/2022, and the city manager wanted to.
I think we had a discussion earlier about
We
what
sure
that
did.
entailed, and
25%,
that
25%, 25%.
It's clarifying
Yep.
that the portion that's set aside for support of Parks and Recreation, particularly Beaupark, is going to be solidified primarily to help meet the requirements for issuing bonds.
Thank you.
Move to approve.
Thank you. Is there a
Second.
second? All right. Are there any questions about this? All right. If the clerk would please call the roll.
Yes, Joe Buganum,
Yes?
Bill Kowicki,
Yes.
Ixia Vega,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Trumbull,
Yes.
Dave Harshbarger,
Yes.
Brian Butcher,
Yes.
Mayor Celine.
Yes, passes unanimously. Now we're on boards and commissions. I think we have, is there, Counselor Kowicki?
I said no.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, I do.
Just thought I'd provide a cue there.
You caught me
We've got a lot going on this evening, sorry.
You caught me in another thought. Yes, I'd like to nominate Michael Mills to the Land Reuse and Preservation Agency.
Second?
Yep, by acclamation. All right. And then we have some announcements. We're reshuffling some of the council positions on the different boards and commissions. So on the Traffic Commission will now be Bill Kowicki. Thank you very much for doing that. On the MMPO, we'll have Joe Albagano. And serving on the MUB board would be Dave Harshbarger. So I appreciate everyone's willingness to accept these positions. And we're going to move along. Portion which shall be subject to rules established by council and adopted by resolution.
Good evening again. Okay. Sure. Okay. Good evening. My name is James Giuliani. I live at 256 Prairie Avenue in the First Ward. I come here this evening and I want to announce that I'm going to be running for First Ward Councilman. I reside in the First Ward, and I've been a resident of the city of Morgantown for all my life. I started in business in the city of Morgantown when I was 15, 16 years old. Had my first coin laundromat and bought a second one on Prospect Street. It's called the Death Ray Laundromat by students. Had quite a wonderful learning experience at that age. That being said, I bought another laundromat, and then when I was 18, I started investing in real estate in Morgantown. And that being said, I've been committed to Morgantown all that time. While I was here, I built what I think is going to be something pretty special for the city of Morgantown. It was the property over in Woodburn neighborhood that the Development Authority has bought, and we have West Virginia University, the city, the county, all in partnership, working together. Can you believe that? Can you believe that we grabbed all of them, we put everybody together? That's what I want to see happen. That's what I want to see happen in the city of Morgantown. Right now, we're in a situation where we have a vote of no confidence by our police and our fire departments, our first responders, the most important things that we can have in our city. And guess what? Guess what? We're fortunate. We have a great fire department and we have a great police force, and we need to do the things for them that they need, that they need. Okay? And there's things that they want, but the things they need, along with want, but need. And some of those things are respect. And with that being said, how can this city move forward? How does this city move forward if we don't have the confidence of our police and our fire department? You know how the businesses do it? They do it with their feet. They don't do business here. You're finding that out. The city of Morgantown's put itself behind an 8-ball. We can't annex anymore. Now, I'm going to again tell you guys, I'm going to tell everybody, I'm not trying to be, where the fellow guy said I was yelling too much. I'm going to try not to yell too much in the future, but I suffer from ADHD. I've been diagnosed as an adult. I think everybody knew I had it forever, but it's true. It's true, guys. It's true. It's called Ring of Fire. It means my brain never stops. It means I think about all these things all the time. And what I know is this. We need to be the stakeholders. We are the stakeholders to West Virginia University. They're critical to our future. There's a lot of to-do about an athletic director right now and the state of West Virginia University sports. Now understand, West Virginia University is down 6,000 students in the last 10 years from their peak. President Gordon Gee said he would take this university to 40,000 students. What a message he sent. He sent the wrong message. We're far, far from it. Instead of that, there's physically maybe 22,000 people. Let them, I will ask anybody to tell me I'm wrong about any of this. The retention rates are floating around 75%, 76%. I understand there's national things, but guess what? I'm not national. I'm here in Morgantown, West Virginia. And what I need to do, and what we need to do, we all need to do, is bring everybody to the table, and we need to work together to bring this thing to a positive, to move forward in a positive way. And with that, I'm proposing, with the new MS levy that just passed, okay, we're contributing $1 million a year to that annually. And therefore, be patient, please, and therefore, I believe, and we have a person who has the expertise in our manager, Mr. Haas. He understands this. He understands that we can create our own destiny. We can create our own destiny in having our own ambulance service to go along with our first responders. We need this. And in that vein, what we
You're
can do...
going to have 15 more seconds,
Thank
and
you
then
so
we're
much,
done.
Mayor. Thank you so much. With this, what we want to do is push positive. We can be so much better than we are now. We're going to be. We're going to get our own ambulance service. We're going to treat our first responders as they need to be treated. And this council and this administration, we're going to move forward. And we're going
All
to
right.
do good things.
We're
Thank
done.
you, Jenny. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
letting me speak. Appreciate it.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak during the public portion? Okay. We're going to close the public portion. Now we have special committee reports. There are no special committee reports at this time. And now we're on the consent agenda. We have 2 items on the consent agenda, and we will be taking them up without any discussion unless someone wishes to pull them off, one of them off or both of them off. Consideration of approval of a second reading of an ordinance amending section 12104, order of procedure. The first reading was 11/1/2022, and we have the second one. Item B, consideration of approval of a second reading of an ordinance amending section 12905, purchasing procedures. The first reading was 11/1/2022. And can hear a motion for approval.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. And then if the clerk would please call the roll.
Joe Bugon,
Yes.
Bill Koecki,
Yes.
Nixia Vega,
Yes?
Deputy Mayor Trumbull,
Yes.
Dave Archbarger,
Yes.
Brian Butcher,
Yes.
Mayor Sleen.
Yes. Passes unanimously. Now we are under item A, under new business, consideration of approval of a bid award for Phase 2, the Morgantown Airport runway extension.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. On November 3rd of this year, we, bids were, the end of the receiving bids for that particular project in which we received 9 respondents to the request for bids for the project. Our consultant, our engineering consultant, Michael Baker International, reviewed all those bids. They are recommending that the base bid be awarded to Cast and Baker Corporation, which was the apparent low bidder at $1,992,470, and that's for the base bid. The highest bidder was $2,693,374. So there's quite a discrepancy there between the lowest bidder and the highest bidder in completing that project. Therefore, it's our consultants as well as staff's recommendation that we, this project be awarded to Caston Baker Corporation in the amount of $1,992,470.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second?
Second?
Thank you. We got to drive on through and not get too tired before we get to the end. All right, we got a first and a second. Is there any questions or concerns?
What was the budgeted amount for the project? Did it come in?
It came in within budget.
That doesn't happen with most of our projects. They're all coming in above.
Well, maybe it's requires less equipment or because it's mostly moving earth and trees. All right. The clerk would please call the roll.
Joe Buchanan,
Yes?
Bill Koecki,
Yes?
Ixia Vega,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Trumbull,
Yes.
Dave Harshbarger,
Yes.
Brian Butcher,
Yes.
Mayor Sleen,
Yes, passes unanimously. Item B, consideration of approval of a letter of support for Health Rights Harm Reduction Program. And I don't know if the city manager has something to add to that, or if you wanted,
I think you signed the letter of support, that letter of support originally, right? And you probably have more information than I
Well,
have, Mayor.
it's regarding their harm reduction program, so
Yeah.
they're basically a needle exchange, and there are new, more strict rules from the state that are hard to comply with, and they are working hard to comply with them, and I commend them for it. And I would say the very least we could do is approve this letter of support. I believe they also need one from the county, and it's something that's necessary for them to continue doing their good work.
I would move to accept the letter, support the letter.
Second.
And the letter is not gone out yet. It's something that would come out upon y'all's approval, so.
Mayor, the date at the top of the letter is today's date, but the date in the body of the letter is last year's date, so that would need updated before it's sent out.
Appreciate your rereading the letter and paying attention to the dates. We will make sure that happens.
With that change, I wonder if they've been running it for 8 years instead of 7. Get some clarification on that too,
Good point.
for the light program.
that was modified.
Okay, so it's just a
Okay,
different, good,
the other date,
that works.
no problem.
For many years.
Yeah, just do that.
Yes.
And we'll do it every
Since beginning in.
Yes. Any other comments? We'll call the roll. Call the roll, please.
Joe Buchanan,
Yes?
Bill Koecki,
Yes?
Ixia Vega,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Trumbull,
Yes.
Dave Harshbarger,
Yes.
Brian Butcher,
Yes.
Mayor Sleen,
Yes. That also passes unanimously. City Manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things. We've certainly spent a lot of time together talking about doing some annual planning and trying to develop a list of areas that we want to focus on in the coming year. And the staff is in the process of compiling all that and putting it in. I had a meeting with our department heads this morning. They are each submitting any applicable goals in those areas that they have any kind of input into. They'll be submitting some goals, and those will all be compiled into a program of work for the coming year. And we'll hopefully, our hope is to get it completed within the middle of December, so you have that. We have it all available. You can see what direction staff's taking to help address those specific area of needs that were identified by council and staff. The other thing we're beginning to, and the next couple of months are going to be really busy in the budgeting process. The mayor and I spoke today about how we can involve council in some of the decisions, especially related to nonprofit kinds of funding issues, and I think we're developing a really good plan to help council being engaged in that process and anything else. Certainly, we have included in our budget calendar a number of opportunities for council to participate in the budgeting process, and if we don't have to stick with that. If you feel like you want some conversations, either one-on-one or as council, we can certainly have some work sessions, whatever timeline that council seems inclined to do. The final thing that I wanted to report is the other thing I discussed with our city staff this morning, administrative staff, was we are developing a process, as we discussed before together, how to manage projects and issues that come to light. And we intend to create a document that is very participatory. In other words, that both staff and council it's very fluid. Can comment on. The intent is for you to get a weekly update. It can be updated daily as those projects come to fruition. And so I think we'll find that it'll be a very useful tool for city council and staff to be able to kind of be working on the same page. You certainly don't want council or staff to be surprised by anything. And this whole process is to help minimize the possibility that would happen. I'm hoping to have that rolled out within the next week's a really tough week, but certainly by the first week of December. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sounds great.
Report from the city clerk.
Yes, Mayor. I have a few things. I wanted to share something that our parking authority director shared with us at our department head meeting. There will be free parking, compliments of the downtown merchants and the Morgantown Parking Authority in all city garages and at all city meter lots during the Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays from November 21st to November 27th and from December 17th to December 26th.
Sorry, could you say those dates again?
Yes. From November 21st to November 27th.
It's the week of Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And from December 17th to December 26th.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great.
And secondly, I just want to share, I know that we've been talking for, it feels like years now, trying to recruit and get candidates for our police and fire. So I just want to share a little bit about the Police Civil Service Commission and some of the new hires that we have. First, I want to share, we are always accepting applications for police because we're so low. So please continue to share that information and put that information out to folks who you believe may have an interest in that. We will always accept their application. We will be taking, the Police Civil Service Commission will be holding another entry-level exam in the new year, probably February or March. That date has not yet been determined. But I wanted to share that 4 police officers were hired in July. And then we had another one start yesterday. So that's good news. Our last entry-level police officer exam was October 22nd of this year. As you can see, when I tell you these numbers, we're still getting, still having a difficult time getting folks to show up for our exam. 24 individuals applied for that exam. Of those 24, 2 withdrew before they took the exam. 13 out of the 24 did not show up for the exam. So nine individuals took the exam. 7 out of the 9 did pass, which is a good number. So the Police Civil Service Commission, they did hold interviews last week, and we have now 6 eligible candidates who are undergoing their background check and their polygraph right now. But I just want to share that our percentages are not good. So whatever you can do, I know that our deputy chief and our chief of police, they've been working hard with our HR director, John Behoon, and some other folks to try to recruit and get the word out. So just wanted to share that a little bit, and keep your fillers out, and share that information whenever you can. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Let's see. Now we are on to the city attorney's report.
Thank you, Mayor. We've had a couple concerns relayed by council members as well as members of the public over the past couple weeks regarding utility installations in the public rights-of-way. And so the city manages its public rights-of-way for various public uses, and installation and maintenance of public utilities is a required use generally under various federal and state laws, although also generally subject to local permitting requirements. Cities do have options to address resident concerns, either with the sightliness of work or the permitting and how work impacts other work that's been done in the street, such as paving or the timing of that work. And these are things that we have considered before in recent years for Morgantown, but not comprehensively moved forward. Most recently, when the state adopted the Small Wireless Facilities Act, applying to basically 5G cell facilities that preempted most zoning and regulations of the public rights-of-way, but did allow for certain aesthetic standards and undergrounding districts and other provisions. Charleston and Huntington adopted standards that complied with that new law and regulated placement of utilities in the right-of-way, and we looked at those as models and are going to take that back up, as well as some updates proposed by the Department of Engineering and Public Works, providing for how street cuts are made and how they are remediated to make sure we're being as efficient as possible with our paving program, our sidewalk construction that Staff Engineer Gatlin spoke about at your last meeting, and trying to coordinate that work. So we've picked those back up. I've shared with council the documents that we had worked from and worked on before, and we'll be looking to address those issues at the staff level and present something to council to consider. And that's all I have to report this evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Just question, Mayor?
Please.
Will this be able to oversee what is being expressed as a concern right now? Do we have?
Well, I think, so I know that there have been concerns about pavement markings on South Point Circle for utility installation. I believe those are being done by a contractor for Frontier. They've been informed that they do need to get permits from the city to make that installation, and the city code already requires that a permit is needed and that restoration of the work to the standards of the city must be performed. Now, any kind of coordination that creates a disincentive to do cuts in new pavement or provides for more extensive restoration obligations would be something that council would do by ordinance, so it wouldn't apply if they have work in the next few weeks scheduled.
But they're still required to return to original state
That's correct.
cut.
Yes.
Thanks.
Somebody else have any questions? My question is with regard to poles, that when we're looking at this and we're considering poles, we frequently have poles that are cracked or bent or have problems. Then perhaps someone comes and puts a second pole in and then slowly begins the process of moving items from one pole to the next, and sometimes that takes 2 years or more where there's double poles, which means it's hard when you're coming out of a roadway to look left and right and see, because it's not just one pole, it's two. So anything that could expedite the process of returning things back to normal, i.e. one pole, and then that the poles not conflict with ADA use of the sidewalk. So anything that can be reinforced or placed within that would be very helpful.
Certainly, a good point, and regulating to promote safety and accessible public facilities is generally within the city's power. Most poles within the city are owned by Mon Power, but our other utilities are located on them due to co-location requirements under federal law, and it does sometimes take time for moving those facilities over, but certainly our goal would be to involve the utilities in the process as we work on proposals for addressing that, and then look to get that taken care of.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that has any questions or comments?
Maybe
Alright.
just a follow-up.
Yes.
I know in my experience, I deal with that a lot with moving
Yes.
lines to poles. In our experience, we kind of just have to know about it. And for us, as I think Ryan was getting at, we have to, Mount Power has to have a connection first before we can do anything. So sometimes we'll send people out to poles because they'll come to Comcast first. We'll send people out, waste their time, because there's no power on the pole yet. And so for us, it often comes down to literally just knowing. So I don't know if there could be a more standardized alert system. And I don't know what, I know what systems obviously Comcast uses. I don't know what Frontier does. I know ticketing system is very similar with people like Atlantic Broadband or other cable systems. We kind of use very, very similar systems. But for us, it always just comes down to us just knowing that we need to move it. And then we can take it. And it's usually done within, for us, within 24, 48 hours.
Wow. Okay. That's less than 2 years.
As long as there's power.
So I'm wondering whether there's some GIS applications here, or whether the company has some GIS going on, so we could know, because sometimes the problem is a citizen has a problem with a particular pole, and maybe there's several numbers on the pole, so it's hard to figure out which number it is to identify it. So if it was identified through GIS or whatever system to make sure that people could locate which pole, and then the data about the pole and where it is and what's needed and whether it has electricity to it. But just anything we can do to standardize it and make it better, people would appreciate it.
Yeah, and I will say, very often in my job, I have people coming in and saying, this light pole's kind of like has like somebody hit it or something.
Yeah.
And we're like, call Mon Power.
Yeah.
Or,
Well, and, I mean, working with the utilities is going to be very important to find out how those can integrate. But the Development Services and Engineering and Public Works Department have been working throughout this year to implement a new electronic permitting system beginning of the next fiscal year that will integrate GIS capabilities and should be capable of doing things like that.
I would say I've also gotten calls before I was on council about confusion from our techs as far as what permitting was. I don't know. That's probably just miscommunication, but
I think I have heard those issues too, with respect to people being unaware of permitting requirements for public right-of-way work, or specifically what they are, because our code has a couple different permits that are required. But better notice, better coordination would be a good aim.
So working with our stakeholders of all types to make sure we can
Absolutely.
come up with something good. All right. Any other questions or comments? And otherwise, you want to start?
I'm ready to start.
Prepared this week.
Thank you.
I attended the most recent MUB meeting with the mayor, where they presented their flood study. That was a cool meeting to be a part of, and it was a nice venue, appropriate for it. There was a pretty comprehensive flood study that they performed. It was kind of more identifying the problems, sort of, and the challenges, I guess, that they would have, rather than, I mean, there were some very, like, kind of rudimentary solutions that they had that were all very interesting, and little things that we could do, and then, of course, the further down the flood studies is when they get to the really big, expensive, will help a lot stuff. So I do hope that flood study can be seen through to completion, get more comprehensive, just so we can get a more comprehensive idea of a price tag and what it would take to mitigate flooding, as, you know, it's probably just gonna get worse, and I think there was quite a bit of acknowledgement of that during the flood study. But yeah, it was a good meeting to attend. They did a really good job of answering our questions, I thought, and addressing the things that we asked from a city perspective. Next time we have one, I would encourage the rest of our community that has talked to us. I must have sent out like 25 emails before it and had lots of commitments, and then we didn't have very many show up. So we're in this big church, and there wasn't that many people.
Many pews.
Yeah, many empty pews. I also appreciated our council retreat and our strategic kind of planning discussion that we had. It was good to get input on that. I think it was productive. The last thing I wanted to address was yesterday and today. We started yesterday and kind of sort of finished the process of cleaning up a campsite for homeless individuals. Yesterday, Public Works was there, and they were kind of just cleaning up. And then this morning, the Morgantown Police Department showed up and had everyone leave. We had members of Health Right that came down almost immediately and started like moving people's stuff out, and we had a few other volunteers that were just like helping people get their personal belongings out. The coalition had indicated to us that they didn't receive any notice about this, which I believe is part of the policy for cleaning these sites up. Now, it was publicly noticed on there, but we didn't have, and this was, I think it was noticed for the 11th, and then the actual cleanup started yesterday, which was the 14th. And I did get a response from the deputy chief, because Chief Powell's out, yesterday, and he just kind of indicated to me that they weren't there yesterday. And then, said that there were members of Health Right and stuff like that there. But I would just encourage that we need to make sure we're following the policy that we laid out for when this stuff happens. I think they were, like, once we had a conversation with, not we, because I wasn't there, but once some of the people that were there had a conversation with the officers and the people that were there cleaning, obviously it's like, yes, of course, like, let them get their stuff, and we're helpful in that regard. So, that's good. But I did identify an issue there where it did seem that the coalition hadn't been contacted, which is important, I think.
How many agencies participate in the whole process? You mentioned Health Right. Any others?
Like official agents? Like, there were people that are part of, like, kind of our loose group of RAMP, as we've been calling it. But, like, yeah, I mean, because we helped them get a truck to move stuff out, and that was pretty much it. But other than that, it was just Health Right. I don't believe the coalition was on site at all.
Okay.
But that would conclude my report.
Thank you.
Sorry, just had a question for you. Where was the camp? I was just curious.
So it was near the rail trail, near the kayak facility.
Okay. So it was on the Mon Trail, not the Deckers Creek Trail, closer to on the riverside.
Yes. Sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Well, assume I'm up.
You're up.
First, I would like to thank some fellow counselors for taking on board and commission roles for me to allow me to serve on MUB. I look forward to serving on MUB. I think they're doing a great job, and I just hope to be able to strengthen their position and continue to help that organization continue to do great things. And I would like to just let folks know that the Collins Ferry connector to the rail trail work is supposed to begin tomorrow or Thursday. And it will be a construction zone, so it'll be closed to the public while the work is being done. And the work should be done within a couple months, and that will be open. And if you are using the rail trail, the downtown restrooms are closed at the Hazel Ruby Amphitheater, but there are restrooms at Star City that are still open into the winter. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor?
I'm up. Just to follow up on Councilor Butcher's report, I attended the Built for Zero meeting yesterday, and it's my understanding that the warming shelter is in limbo based on some funding issues. So that may be coming back before us to get an okay to move ahead without full funding or something like that. Happy to answer individual questions about that later, but the Bartlett House has started publishing on their social media their numbers for the day, and I saw earlier today they are not full. So if anyone is in need of shelter as it's cold, there are some spots available at Bartlett House, and I do believe that First Presbyterian Church also has some limited resources for assistance while we're waiting for the warming shelter to start. I had lots of other stuff. Oh, I had a Hope Hill Sobering Center board meeting today. That was our first since the facility opened in October, officially opened in October, and they have started serving clients. We report no issues. Everything has been going smoothly. We're looking into additional outreach to the hospital systems and different police departments to ensure that everyone is aware that this is open and available as an option. I know that University Police Department has made several referrals of, we were especially busy after the Baylor game, I'm told. Those Thursday night games get you every time. But just for the public to be aware, that is moving forward, it is open, and make sure any of our community partners who have helped in funding that are aware that it is open and accepting clients. I look forward to going to the National League of Cities this week with the mayor. We leave tomorrow. Looking forward to connecting with a lot of our colleagues from around the nation, especially we have a dinner set up with Kentucky mayors and Virginia mayors and our West Virginia Municipal League delegation. So I'm especially looking forward to that. And I'd like to thank Clerk Wade for all the work she did in getting our trip set up. She's a delight. She's a tireless worker. And just as a last point, over the last couple of weeks since our meeting, I've continued to receive calls, texts, emails, bumping into people. They all want to express their concerns about our downtown. I've heard from business owners, employees, patrons, parents, residents, property owners. I've heard stories of harassment, assaults, shootings. We've all seen that. And concerns about open drug use. And while these are not the fault of any one demographic, and to be certain, they are not isolated to our downtown or even to within city limits of Morgantown, but I do hear a lot of concern coming especially from our downtown business owners. I personally can't imagine a Morgantown without the diverse small businesses that we have downtown. So as we were discussing earlier, or I guess I wasn't discussing, you were discussing with Amy Loomis, the new director of Main Street, we as a community really need to come together and commit to supporting our businesses and the downtown in general. I think as a city, we need to put more efforts towards our downtown. I really implore our administration and the manager especially to work with Chief Powell and the police department to ensure that downtown safety is prioritized. I would personally like to make sure that we have as much full coverage of a downtown foot patrol as is humanly possible. I'm happy to facilitate conversations with the manager or the police chief and some of the concerned folks who have reached out to me directly. I'm not sure that they are always getting those messages, and I certainly don't intend to frighten anyone from being downtown. My husband and son and I spent a lot of time downtown this weekend, no issues. And I'm certainly not looking to place any blame on city administration or the police department, but I do think we are really at a turning point where if we don't do something, our businesses are gonna pack up and leave, and I cannot imagine the state that Morgantown will be in if that happens. So that's all.
Thank you. Counselor Vega.
I have gotten a lot of questions about specifics of the Old Wild Hills School, and while I will send emails to make sure that we get some answers, I also invite folks to visit the school. The administrative office for Bow Park is now in the building, so please feel free to take a tour, ask questions, anything specific that you want to know. Our folks at Bow Park have been really vocal about wanting to hear from folks and being happy to answer any questions. So please ask all the questions that you want to know. Like Deputy Mayor and Councilman Butcher mentioned, we are in a difficult position with our warming shelter, and it's still not permanently in place. It's still not in place, it's still not taking people. And our neighbors will be dealing with some severe weather this weekend, and I'm sure they will be for the rest of the winter. If folks would like to participate by volunteering or giving donations or even possibly working at this future warming shelter, please feel free to visit the Morgantown Ramp page and send your donations to Morgantown Ramp on Venmo or Cash App. Let me double check. And I think that actually concludes my reports. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Kwaki.
I have nothing to report.
Counselor Abu.
Oh, man, that was fast. All right. I don't have too much to report. I'm starting my busy season between teaching, coaching, and being here. So I'll be very tired. I look forward to sleep on Sundays.
You can sleep when it's not wrestling season.
There we go.
Fair. That's fair.
I very much appreciate those who worked on the Citizens Academy this second time around. Thank you to the department heads and our clerk and the organizers, and just really appreciate it. I think it's something that we particularly need in this era of people communicating often online and not having that hands-on ability to speak with each other as a group and also to speak with city government, and just learning and being able to ask questions. Most of them seem to refer to the fact that they asked a question and someone could actually answer, which is difficult in our current government structures unless we make sure that we have those open forums and hearings, and also academies of the different kinds where people can interact in a different way than in a formal meeting. And so I really appreciate that. I did attend MUB's last meeting where they were talking extensively about the flood study and had their consultant in. It was an opportune moment when they really did answer pretty much every question that anybody asked. And we asked,
A lot of questions.
between the two of us, the 4th and the 7th ward were well represented, and they had the meeting on purpose in our area, in the Suncrest area, so that people could ask questions. And I'm hoping that people were watching online, because a lot of them were not there. There were citizens there, and I appreciate their participation, but it was also the day before a large rain. If it had been the next week, it probably would have had more people who had been reminded about what had happened the year before. Anyway, there are opportunities for city council and other governmental units to pass policies that will help mitigate floods. There's definitely already talked to individual homeowners. MUB is willing and has spoken with individual homeowners about what they can do. I'm looking toward what we can do that is low cost, because high cost we don't always have in us. We're gonna need some of the high cost features, but anything that we can do that's low cost, such as looking at different types of porous paving or pavers, or methods of having the water filter into the ground rather than gathering in the streets, pipes and dishes, and flooding out our neighbors. So I look forward to seeing what comes next. The particular company that they've hired, it seems to be very good at all the different ways of looking at flooding and solutions, and so I definitely look forward to what they bring up. But it runs the gamut from the small things you can do to the large projects, and I'm sure we need large projects, but I also appreciate some details so that we can all contribute. I liked the format of the council retreat this time. We've had council retreats through many different years. This particular year was a nice mixture of discussion and reporting. Some retreats have been all discussion, some have been more toward reporting, and I think it's a good mixture when you have the ability to, once again, ask questions, get them answered, offer up suggestions on all different sides. So I appreciate that. Appreciate Dave Harshberger and his willingness to serve on MUB. I think that this will improve communication. I think that it's easy to provide information to different groups and different individuals, and that there's a lot of good working relationships between the different parts of MUB and the different parts of the city that have been very, are good working relationships. And I think that this, having individual from council on the board will help with communication, like back and forth communication, that kind of helps to accentuate whatever information gets passed around, to be able to talk about it and address it right on the spot. I think I really look forward to it, and appreciate Dave's willingness to serve. And with regard to the warming shelter, I'm wondering what the issue is, because we put a lot more funding into this than we have in the past, to my knowledge, and so I assumed that something would start. Is there anything that we can help with?
Call the
Or-
county.
Funding from the county, please.
And is the
When
county
Jeanette-
willing to put in some?
When Jeanette Lewis came to us
Yes.
and to the Mylan Foundation, I think it was the Mylan Foundation, and to YCF, she told all organizations that she would not be able to start the shelter up and hire all of her employees and everything that she needed to do unless she was able to secure the entirety of her funding. Funding from the county has still not been allocated. They are meeting tomorrow during work session. No vote will take place then until the next county meeting.
And the other entities that they asked for funding?
They have approved,
Yeah, we're
One-
working on other funding streams, and so hopefully we get a better idea after tomorrow night. But we
It
have an idea
seems-
of what's coming out of the county, so,
It seems like
which is not enough.
we have enough funding at some point to get started. But that's
yeah.
just my, I mean,
The concern is that with that, so given what the constraints on Jeanette, it's that there's trepidation about being able to pay people. I mean, it's all for staffing, right? So there's trepidation about being able to pay people for that entire period of time, and then having it fall apart, and then it's on the United Way for that, and so the full commitment of the funding is kind of required. And obviously, it's on a invoice basis, so it's not like
yeah, the money's not all coming out of anyone's coffers until it's spent, which last year meant it didn't hardly get spent.
and it has been asked if she would be willing to go ahead and start with the funding that she has, including our funding, and then maybe bill the county for anything additional. I indicated that she should send a letter to council because some council members that I had talked to personally, and I won't point out anyone, was kind of looking for a partnership with the county for this project. So I didn't know how council as a whole would feel about depleting our allocation before Mon County started getting billed. I just said that they should reach back out to the organizations that had funded and double check with them before making their hires. But she seems hesitant to begin without full funding in any case.
I would also say there's active hiring going on, though.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
winter will be over and we will still be
No,
haggling.
yeah, there's active hiring going
They
on.
are identifying employees and beginning that process,
Yeah.
but no one will be official until
Correct.
checks or I guess ordinances and
Well, we've
everything's in
certainly
place.
always worked hard to try to partner with the county and would have that expectation. So it would be good both to get started and to pursue full funding so we get a full season. So I'm appreciative that they're working toward hiring some individuals because it's getting cold. And that was the whole point, is to have something for when it's cold.
I went-
And I think we could all agree that we need to start earlier
Yesterday.
if we ever can, because this seems to happen every year that this happens now, and every year we know it's gonna get cold, so anything we could do to try to.
Commissioner Bloom and I have hit that point home several times. Like, our budget season is starting now. This is when you need to start asking
It is.
for next
And
year's
it
funding.
seriously is, so, but
I-
it's hard
I-
when we haven't secured this year's funding yet.
I did attend the Morgantown Community Resources stakeholder meeting last week, and this was a topic of discussion. They're really working on trying to make this happen, and I can update that I got a tour. Mr. Straffus and Ron Justice and I took a tour. They are hard at work on that day room up there already, and they are still telling people January 1st with the hope that maybe it's done a little sooner. But it is hard at work. They had to put in a sewer line, things like that had not been run to that space previously. It is well underway. They
Okay.
also have the base for the pavilion poured.
Good. And then with regard to downtown, I would say when our downtown is at its peak and when it's working the best, there are the numerous activities that Main Street and other individuals have put together, so there's plenty of activities, that people are working together, so that means that all the blame doesn't go in anyone's court, but people kind of look in the mirror and see what can they do to help. So that means we have as much community policing on foot as we can stand, both during the day and the evening. That means that we work on having some temporary use of some of the storefronts to get that full feeling. That we highlight this area as a time. This is the time of year. This Small Business Saturday is no. My parents are small business owners, and they looked, and particularly my father was concerned about this time of year. They published a magazine and sold books, and that this was the gift-giving time of year, and it was when you either sort of made it or didn't make it as a business. And so I can completely understand and am not a small business owner, in part because I could see the guts that it took, and I really appreciated Amy Loomis's list of, what guts and smarts and fortitude it takes to run a small business. So whatever we can do as a city to support this, whatever people can do to make sure that there's as much activity downtown as possible. I am downtown all the time, both as a council person or as a person that purchases. I try hard to make most of my purchases in the downtown. There's three strong gift shops and other places you can buy gifts. There's sporting goods, you can buy dresses. There's a lot of entertainment and restaurants, and we just really need to make sure that we are supporting the downtown any way we can. The more that there are people and life down there, the stronger we all are, the more desirable it is to be downtown, the more we have benches and places to sit. I know my daughter used to work downtown, and she was frustrated and really appreciated when we were adding more benches in the downtown so that she could sit and eat her lunch down there when she was an employee. Whatever we can do to work together and not rip each other apart or take out frustrations on others, but figure out the points of agreement and how we can make sure that we have a fully policed, fully utilized downtown with all its components, because that's where we all can have success. So I implore people to figure out how to work together rather than how to play the blame game that nobody wins. So there's definitely issues, but there's also a lot of success and beauty to be had in our downtown. So I just, this holiday season, look to your small business owners wherever they are, and particularly in the downtown, but also we have numerous other areas in Saberton, Seneca Center, Evansdale, neighborhood businesses in all the different neighborhoods in Greenmont, and just make sure that we're supporting each other and figuring out how to make solutions rather than focus on what everyone else can do. Peek in the mirror and see what you can do to help. So thank you all. And there is no executive session. If anybody has any questions on anything that they need to take care of after the meeting, feel free. We're plenty early in the evening. If you have a question that needs an answer, feel free to ask it after the meeting. I mean, unless it's something that you want to ask, it pertains to everybody. But if there's something that pertains just to you, feel free to ask it right after the meeting. Please. Bless you. Yeah, all right. We stand adjourned. Thank you all.